Welcome, FNusa57 here. Once again, I'm back on my Xbox Series X today to bring you yet another Elden Ring video. In this video guide, I want to show you how to unlock the Meteorite Staff and the Rock Sling spell. Two items that will be very helpful to relatively low to maybe mid-level sorcerers, depending on your playstyle. So this is actually a item that you can get to partially fairly early on in the game. And of course there are timestamps in the description of the video if you want to skip ahead to the exact location and you already have means of getting there. So I will quickly show on the map. The starting point that we are going to go from is down here at the Seaside Runes or Dragon Burnt Runes. Very easy to start at, but where we will be going is all the way over into the Scarlet Rot area, and our end destination will be here at the Street of Sage's Runes. Now, this is relatively easy to get to. You can go on foot, but I would definitely recommend that you have Torrent so you resist the Scarlet Rot, or just skip getting infected in the first place. You can walk there, but there is a very easy method that I will be showing you. You do not need to have the mount to do this, but it is a lot easier. And we can actually access this area, like I said, very early on. In theory, it's possible to even access this area before you have your mount. What you're going to want to do is go into the Dragon Burnt Runes, locate the stairs leading down. There are a number of enemies in this area, so if you want, you can kill them. Go down in here. You'll have to open this door, which will then allow you to open this chest. And this chest is a trapped chest, which means that you are going to be transported when you open that chest if you are standing in the fog. If you are not standing in the fog, it will not transport you, and then you will be forced to deal with the enemies. But you can always just open the trap chest again. Now what this is going to do is transport you to the Crystal Tunnel, a fairly high level area, and fairly difficult if you are at low level. So you may just want to secure the Site of Grace in the Crystal Tunnel and come back to it at a later date to acquire the loot. Personal preference at the end of the day. I am not going to be showing where all of the loot is because you can always come back here at a later date. There are a couple of difficult enemy types in here to be aware of. There is the regular crystalline structure enemy, and then there is the other little caster type enemy over here. And this caster type enemy is very annoying because of their cast time. Their cast time is super fast. The best way to deal with these enemies that I have found, if you are going to fight them, which, like I said, their cast time is insanely fast, so I really don't recommend fighting them, actually. But if you are going to fight them, a barrage of spells is pretty much the best way to do it. However, you can skip past these enemies just to unlock the Site of Grace, which is exactly what I want to do for the purposes of this guide. We're only using this as a fast travel method, so to speak, to save a lot of time, frustration, and deaths along the way, because that has transported us all the way up here, which is very close to the Streets of Sage Runes, and that is our end destination. So if you are fast about it, you can run down this hallway. There is a summon portal or effigy right there that you can grab. And then, of course, the Site of Grace, which gives you the Celilia, I believe, crystal tunnels. I don't know how to pronounce it, so don't hate me too much. At which point you can exit out of the tunnel. And now, if you want, you can go ahead and summon your mount. After summoning your mount, I recommend putting a beacon on the Sage Runes. They're pretty much out a little bit to the southwest. And most of the enemies aren't bad here except for the swamp itself. The swamp itself is relatively frustrating, mostly due to the fact that it will proc the buildup of Scarlet Rot. So as you can see, if I'm not on my mount, I'm being infected by that Scarlet Rot. And you really do not want to be infected by that. Even at higher levels, it does a ton of damage. Plus, there's some explosions and things going on in there. So it's best just to use your mount and Torrent. As long as you are riding Torrent, you will not be affected by the Scarlet Rot buildup, which is fantastic. Alright, so these enemies can be rather annoying. If you can't kill them right off the bat, your best bet is to lure the little annoying plants out and then jump up here and grab the item that we're looking for. If you can kill these caster enemies relatively quickly, then you might as well remove them, simply due to the fact that they are annoying and they do a pretty decent amount of damage, which can be a bit of a surprise. Mounted combat works best in the swamp. Remember that when you get up here, you can dismount because you will not be taking the Scarlet Rot damage or the status from it until you get hit by these flowers. So either kill the flowers if you can or lure them out of the room. You'll probably see some messages and things like that, and then be able to pillage the remains, giving you the wonderful Meteorite Staff. The reason why I say that staff is so good is simply due to the fact that it is a very early staff that you can access, and it has really, really good stats. So it actually starts off with a intelligence scaling S, and a passive effect boosting gravity sorceries with really low equip stats or equip requirements. You only need 6 strength and 18 intelligence to equip it. The downside to this staff is it has no special skill as far as like a left trigger ability, and on top of that, it cannot be upgraded, which is why it has the S scaling to begin with. However, it will be of great benefit until you can get one of the later end game staffs. There's also some runes. Our next thing is to actually go down into the dungeon located in this similar area, and then we will be picking up the gravity or well, it's a gravity type sorcery called the Sling. Now, for the actual Rock Sling spell, which works so well with this Meteorite Staff, you'll want to enter this building here, and then go down these stairs. You'll usually see messages there. There's about 5 or 6 mushroom-headed sorcerers in this building. If you ride through on Torrent, you can lure them outside of the building, and then go down at your leisure, or you can kill them. Whatever your preference is for your level. Once you descend the stairs, you don't really have to worry about the Scarlet Rot from the swamp anymore. All you have to do is open the door, and then you can collect your reward inside of the treasure chest, which is the new spell Rock Sling. I just went to equip our new spell real quick to give you an idea of how this spell performs. It's one that takes a little bit to get used to and isn't as good against small enemies because it does consume more FP. It consumes 18 as opposed to 7 if you were using the Glintstone Pebble. So if you're used to using the Glintstone Pebble attack, you'll notice it does a lower amount of damage. I do have fairly high intelligence, so I will be doing more damage with any spell than normal, but it takes a considerable amount of time to kill like one of those creatures, but has a fairly fast cast time. Whereas the Rock Sling spell, you will notice, has a much slower cast time, and it does consume over double the amount of FP of a Glintstone spell. However, it does a little bit over double the damage, and it also does a considerable amount of damage to poise. So it's really good at staggering and guard breaking enemies, or just, knocking them to the ground. It can be, of course, used against smaller enemies, but it's probably a waste of FP depending on how your build is set up at the time. Hopefully this helps you out and you enjoy your new staff and spell. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to go ahead and leave a comment, and I will do my best to help you guys out. Otherwise, help me out greatly by smashing those like and subscribe buttons. Until next time, stay frosty.